welcome to my first writing vlog of the new year. This isn't a weekly vlog, but more of a casual sit down and ramble type video. It's time to discuss what comes next. Soon you'll see. Do you know how hard it is to query? Today is Saturday, it is January 4th, and this is the last time I'm going to talk about querying for a while. Because yes, I am querying now, and I don't want to talk about it. Not yet, not until I have news to share. But yeah, to briefly recap, I finished writing my book in October. I took November kind of off from writing. I had a couple beta readers give me some feedback, and then in December I did a quick final revision pass. And now, book is ready. I am so very nervous about querying. More nervous than is reasonable, I think, because honestly, I really believe that my book is good. You know, I spent all of last year revising it. I worked so hard on it and I'm really proud of it. I'm just like forever scarred from my last querying attempt, but I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. That was last decade. It's old news. It actually is really old news. Like the last time I queried, it was 2011. It was a lifetime ago. And I know I have improved miles from that point. But still, I will admit that I am nervous. Like, this is a big step in the publishing journey. I've been doing lots of research. I have a list of like 15 to 20 agents. I don't really have a strategy planned for querying at this point. I've sent out a small batch of queries, and I'm undecided on if I'm going to wait a couple weeks and then send out another small batch, or if I'm going to do kind of a rolling querying thing where, like, if I get a rejection, I send out a new query. Right now, in this moment, I'm leaning more toward the strategy of small batches several weeks apart. I get really anxious sending out queries, so I feel like it's better to send out 5 on one day and be anxious for that one day rather than sending out 5 queries on 5 different days and being very anxious on 5 different days, you know? Like, let's minimize the days I spend being incredibly anxious, right? That's a good strategy. So yeah, that's what's going on with that. Now, let's move on and talk a little bit about what I'm gonna be working on while I'm querying. Now that book is done, my life is empty. I mean, not really, like, obviously I'm being dramatic, but I spent all last year working on this book, so it does feel really weird that that's not like a part of my life anymore. Especially because this is the hardest part. Book is book 1 of 2, so the story isn't done, and I'm inclined to want to work on that and finish the story, but I'm not letting myself do that because it's not a good idea, you know, because it's a sequel. And if book ends up not getting an agent, then it's not like I can then query the sequel and try to get an agent that way. It's a smarter move to work on a completely different project. Also, it'll be better for my heart. Because if I'm working on the sequel, getting rejections for book is going to hurt more and be very discouraging. But if I'm working on a completely different project, I can pour all of my hope into that. And like, getting rejections for book won't affect my hope or the future of this new project. You know, instead of being like, oh, book got rejected and here I am wasting time working on the sequel like a clown, it'll be more like, oh, book got rejected, but at least I have this new other project that I'm excited about. I did work a little bit more on sequel at the end of the year. It's up to about 40,000 words. of very messy zero draft. And most of that is like original zero draft from when this used to be one book before I split it into two. And I actually think I'm gonna call the zero draft there. Like the zero draft is done. I have the whole thing thoroughly outlined. I know the story. I also wrote a 4,000 word detailed synopsis outline for sequel, and that is not like messy zero draft. It's polished and reads smoothly. And I wanted to have that synopsis done and ready to go before I started querying, just so I can share that with any agent who is curious about what my plan is for book 2. I really didn't want to have to come up with something on the fly. I feel good that I have this synopsis plan ready to go. But yeah, now that it is 2020 and I am querying, I am not going to be touching book or sequel for an undetermined amount of time. Honestly, this is the worst part of the process for me, the not knowing how long this is going to take. I really love planning and scheduling. I also love ignoring those plans and schedules, but I need to have them in the first place in order to ignore them. Like my Virgo rising ass is gonna jump on any opportunity to make a detailed itinerary. And then my Aquarius sun ass is like, cool itinerary, bro. Let's just toss that over there. But still, I love making the plan just as much as I love yeeting the plan out the window. And right now, it is really, really hard for me to plan because this is the point where things are just out of my control. Like I've worked really hard and I've done my best to give book a chance at getting picked up, at grabbing an agent's attention, but I have no control over if an agent is going to love my book enough to want to represent me. And I also have no control over this timeline, over how long the querying process is gonna take. You know, am I gonna get super lucky and have this process be relatively fast and easy and happen within a month? Or is this going to be a slow process? Is this going to take upwards of 6 months? Am I going to spend most of 2020 querying? I don't know! And the not knowing and the not being able to plan my year is honestly the most stressful part of this whole experience for me, and I do not like it. But I do have a vague plan, at least for the first 3 months of the year here. I don't feel immediately ready to jump into a new project next week. I also don't quite know which new project I want to work on. I'm definitely the kind of writer who has lots of ideas, and I want to play around with some of them before I decide which one I'm going to commit to next. So my focus in January is going to be querying, reading, gotta refill the well, and YouTube. And when it comes to writing, I'm gonna be project hopping. I love project hopping. You know, it goes well with my fear of commitment. So this month, I'm gonna allow myself to just work on whatever I want. I'm not gonna give myself any kind of deadlines, except for the deadline of making a solid decision about which project I'm going to draft next by the end of this month. And then I'm going to spend February and March zero drafting whatever new project I have chosen. And then I don't know. I can't plan farther than that into the future because so much of my writing future feels totally up in the air right now. It's fine. This is fine. I'm fine. I do have 2 big 2020 writing goals, so let's talk briefly about those. The first is to zero draft at least 1 new project. Like I said, I'm currently planning to zero draft something new in February and March, but I might zero draft something else later in the year as well because I like NaNoWriMo, I like zero drafting, I have so many ideas and need to get them out of me. So I might do more than 1 zero draft, but at least 1 zero draft is the first goal. And the second goal is to revise a zero draft to completion. And ideally, the zero draft I want to revise is sequel, but I'm not gonna do that unless I have a book deal, which is a huge question mark. And before I even get to that huge question mark, I have to deal with the huge question mark of getting an agent. And it's so many question marks. So while I would love to spend this year revising sequel, I cannot commit to that at this point in time. But I can commit to revising something. You know, I ended 2019 with a completed polished manuscript, so if I can end 2020 with a completed polished manuscript, I'll be really happy. And if I can end 2020 with an agent and a book deal and a completed sequel manuscript, then that's just the fucking dream, isn't it? But yeah, regardless of what I end up revising this year, I am still looking forward to zero drafting something new. I love zero drafting. I love just pouring the story out of my brain. I love watching that word count number rise, and I love that the words don't have to be good, they just have to be words. And I love vlogging the zero draft process. So stay tuned for that next month. But yeah, I think that's just about everything I had to ramble about today. I would love to hear from y'all if you have any 2020 writing goals you'd like to share in the comments down below. Let me know. And yeah, that's gonna do it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I will have another video up soon. So I will see you then. Bye!